Hello and welcome. My name is Kathy Nathnagel, and I am the content manager here at Give Smart by Community Brands. And we are really excited to have each of you here today joining us in this conversation. During this episode, we're going to go through some examples, everyone's favorite, as well as some data and some Give Smart tips that demonstrate all of that demonstrates that organizations are really ready to bring people back in person, but they definitely want to be safe about it. And joining me today are two of my team members who are talking to nonprofits pretty much every day. And so, welcome, Brandon and Kara. Thanks for joining me.
I've been so excited about this one.
Me too. Me too. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. So, before we kind of kick off with our content today, we're going to go through a poll. So, for all of you out there listening, as it pertains to your 2021 fundraising, and I guess while you guys are going through this, we'll make sure to ask a question of Kara in a second. But as it pertains to your 2021 fundraising, are you and your organization sticking with what you've always done and how you've always done it? Are you expanding with new ideas that you've kind of already ironed out? Are you exploring new opportunities and really looking for new ideas? Or are you feeling pretty uncertain in what direction you're taking? And while people are answering, Kara, I know you definitely are talking to nonprofits all the time and have a sense from you and your team. Are we seeing more events kind of happening in person now that things are starting to stabilize?
Yeah, absolutely. We are definitely seeing that increase of people feeling more comfortable going back to in-person events. And also, we're seeing a lot of fundraising. So, we had the most fundraising ever at the start of May, and it looks like it's just going to continue to grow and grow. So really excited.
It is really exciting. And that obviously speaks to, both organizations are putting on fundraising campaigns and donors are ready, willing, and able. So as we kind of end this poll and share, Brandon, do you find this surprising? It looks like, a good majority of people are falling into kind of two categories that we expected.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what we would expect with the fundraisers we're talking to, but also really great to hear that people are looking for new giving opportunities, not just kind of sticking with what's worked. And I think we've got some stuff today that's going to kind of give you those ideas to at least work off of and even maybe steal. You never know.
Absolutely. So as we kind of talk about what we're going to go through today, we definitely want to set up or kind of set the stage. So we're going to go through a little bit of data and insights as well as um, we hear a lot about okay, doing something outside is great, but how can an online platform really help me? So we're going to go through kind of a little bit of that information to make sure everyone kind of is on the same page. We're going to talk about sort of those typical campaigns that we always see when people are using the GiveSmart platform, golf events, 5Ks. What are some new things that people are doing? Because believe it or not, there is some new innovative, creative stuff happening that's exciting. And then we'll go through questions and answers and to preemptively answer the number one question that we get. This is being recorded. So if time zones got a little tricky, or if you have to jump off or something comes up, or you want to share it with a volunteer or your staff, you'll be able to share this recording and we'll be sending along all the resources that are shared in chat today. So also keep a lookout for the chat and please ask your questions as you have them. We sometimes have the opportunity to answer kind of during, but certainly we will leave some time at the end, but it's easiest for everyone if you ask them as you have them. And with that, let's kind of talk about the setup. So before we take a look at those examples of those outdoor fundraisers, we do want to take a look at the landscape, like I said, of campaigns kind of right now and what they look like. And I know Kara will have more to share on this, but a lot of our partners, a lot of the organizations that we work with are hesitant to maybe stand up a fundraiser outside like a golf outing or a 5K because they don't want to mess around with day of staffing, all of the logistical planning that goes into it, the need for petty cash and that sort of transactions, because it's all that's hard to safely manage. And, hopefully by the end of today, you'll realize that there is an online platform benefit to being able to do or set up so that you can have really great events happening outside. And she's also going to share a little bit about, why that really is just a huge, huge asset. So without further ado, Brandon, I know you're going to kick us off with a little bit of data.
Yeah, and I think, well, one, I know there's a lot of blue on here, so deciphering, I'll try and give you a little bit of a demonstration of what's going on here. But we do this survey on all of our blueprint episodes that we're doing every Thursday of really the quarter. So this survey is asking, what are you looking at for 2021? And you can see overwhelmingly the 63% that is within the some virtual and some live campaigns. That's why we're having this conversation. We know organizations are looking for something to engage their donors where they can do something safely. Outdoors is also this time of year a much more appealing opportunity. So really this kind of correlates with what we're seeing. And you can see that virtual is only 13%. So not many organizations are strictly going virtual. We're seeing a good portion who also are looking at hybrid. And that's what's exciting about this conversation.
Great. I'm going to jump in here and just kind of talk a little bit about how just because you're having an outdoor event, right, doesn't mean that, it can't be virtual in that aspect as well, and you can't use technology. So I think sometimes people think, how Kathy mentioned about outdoor events and how, there's cash and there's, volunteers and there's all these kind of, sometimes it's a little bit a lot to handle, but, utilizing technology to streamline your giving and making your life a little bit easier is awesome. You can still do that through display options by bringing technology outside. We have some really great ways to customize and get creative with your order forms, having different ways that people can participate with various aspects of your ticketing. Also, seating management is a huge one. Sometimes we always think about seating management as, these big galas in a ballroom, but, utilizing it for foursomes of golf or, different, groupings at a drive-in movie or things like that, that you can really utilize to your advantage to make your life and your staff life a little bit easier.
Absolutely. And I know, Kara, when we used to be fully in person, this kind of display would be on a large screen in a big ballroom. And that's what I think a lot of people are thinking of. But the image that we're seeing here, that's what people would see on your GiveSmart homepage, whether you were on a phone, an iPad, or a desktop.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So you can actually put that onto your homepage. So again, you can take that technology, when I meant that, take the technology outside with you. So yeah, on your personal device, you are able to actually see that, and anybody can actually display that. I know we're in a second, we're going to kind of talk about how we can communicate as well with donors, but that's another way that you can definitely utilize the technology to your advantage.
For sure. And like you said, communication.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. So, I think, if the pandemic has taught us anything, it is to communicate and to over communicate. So, one of the things that we always definitely recommend, especially with the technology, is the ability to quickly and easily communicate with your donors and your guests. So, utilizing, our text messages and the strategy behind that for really honing in and communicating with specific donors, whether they're in person or they're at home. And then also, utilizing the platform as well and utilizing technology to really hone in on some of your FAQs and rules and regulations, right? You can't be too careful having it in so many different places and utilizing technology in that regard as well.
For sure. And I know we had a customer kind of last week who shared, to your point, like you can't over communicate enough, especially at this time. So we were talking about liability or rules and regulations. And what's nice with text messages is I think some people think about, oh, I can only do it during a program or only use it during this. We have a lot of customers who are texting in advance to say, check out safety rules on the homepage, or do you want to know if you have to wear a mask or not? Well, look at it. Spoiler, you do. But that text message strategy, you can direct people to your homepage. You can connect with specific donors like you mentioned, but all of that is just a really nice way to make sure that you're getting your point across. For sure. So hopefully that at least helps kind of tee up or answer, tee up, see what I did there? Kind of some of the reasons why technology can work for you outside. And, again, why are we talking about outdoor fundraisers? Brandon sort of alluded to it, but for those of us who are in colder weather climates, hello, fellow Midwesterners, it's finally Almost. Getting warm enough to be outside. And for another, as current recommendations stand, being outside is frankly the safest gathering option that we have at the moment. And, lastly, being outside is good for you. According to a study actually that was published in the International Journal of Environmental Health Research, just 20 minutes outside, and you do not even have to exercise, dear listeners, is enough to improve your well-being, your mood, your mental health, and to lower your blood pressure. Just physically being outside. You don't even have to move. So people are ready to gather together for your mission. And I know both Brandon and Kara are going to be kind of kicking us off with some examples and ideas by talking about arguably the most popular outdoor fundraiser that we see being done through GiveSmart and with our customers, which is golf outings.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about golf. Let's talk about teeing off and all these great puns we have here. But I think the key thing is now is a great time to be thinking about golf, but maybe there's some ways to think about it differently. Oftentimes we get the question of everyone's doing it, should I also? Well, there are ways to do it slightly different. There are ways to do it for your audience specifically. And we have a couple things here to kind of help you differentiate your golf tournament from all the others beyond obviously having beautiful imagery and having a tremendous golf course support you. A few different things that we've seen with golf that I do want to touch on. There is the two kind of models that we're seeing. We are seeing the typical golf tournaments where there's people teeing off at the same time on their own holes. Maybe there's two flights, managing that all in the same course. And then there are organizations that are doing golf within this time frame, and they're calling it all kinds of different things now. But golf within this time frame, and report your score on one of these four courses, that kind of thing, and making it available so people are maybe feeling a little bit safer. Maybe it's a little bit more convenient for them. And that allows them to participate kind of at their own pace. And we've seen that in a few different examples. When we look at some strategies, there's the add-ons. And I think the one that is everyone has heard or should have heard about is adding mulligans. These are a fictional thing. There's not a real tangible cost to a mulligan. As a golfer, I find them very valuable, but a mulligan is another swing. And for those that are in a tournament where maybe you do a small trophy at the end, that competition element, there people are going to want to buy those just because. But most typical golf tournaments, almost everyone's going to buy a mulligan because they're probably going to need it. I'm rusty. I need lots of them. But as you look at that, that is one add-on that is pretty typical, that really is kind of a best practice at this point. And then there's also what we see here with the drone ball drop, where you can pay a fee and have the drone basically drop the ball off for you to see if that's going to be better than your drive. There's other contests and things like that you can do. You can have one of those guys that are out there that do the longest drive competitions. They can have them take your tee shot for you, or outdrive them, have a chance to outdrive them, compete in the longest drive or the closest to the pin contest. These are all things that bring that competition element, bring a little bit of fun to them, don't actually really cost anything. Maybe the drone might cost something, but some of these other things, really, there's not a tangible cost to your organization other than just making sure you promote it. And it adds on value to your golf tournament, and it adds that little bit of fun. Add something in there that's different, and definitely look at what's being done, because if it was done in the West Coast, maybe it would work on the East Coast, and not anyone else has tried it. The other piece of this is we've seen a lot more organizations add in food and then auctions. Not food auctions, but food and auctions, although food auctions sound fun too. With the golf tournaments, maybe you're not doing it after the tournament luncheon or dinner. Instead, you provide boxed lunches that they can take home with them after they've finished playing, provided by a vendor, or that they can pay for on top of it. Have a picnic set up where they can have food and everything, gather on the course in their own space with family that can come join them. Those kinds of things are really nice. And then always think about how can you add the typical fundraising elements into a golf tournament, because typically, as we know, someone who's participating in a golf tournament has additional what's the additional dispensable income? Sorry, I couldn't think of the word. That maybe they want to bid on an auction item. Maybe they want to participate in different fundraising campaigns that you have going on. But the auction's been very successful because, again, that competition element is inherent with a golf tournament. And I highly encourage that. And don't theme them just to be golf clubs. Have additional things, because people who aren't golfers that are local or not local may still support your auction because they're interested in what's in that auction, regardless of the fact that it's your Swings for Smiles event or whatnot, because they just have that interest. So, and I know there's a question in there about arranging time slots. So to clarify, they're not specifically arranging time slots. They're coordinating with courses to make sure, one, when someone signs up to basically play their round, that they have the right information to play the same type of level course, and that they can report their score. And there's tons of apps out there to kind of report scores and track that. We can provide you some examples of that. And then, like I discussed, the style of play, having that competition element, that you have really intense golfers, and then you have some that are doing it for fun, and incorporating more of those fun elements will kind of mix there. And having that mix, there's nothing wrong with that, but definitely make sure you know your audience so that you can really set up the right elements for them. Maybe intense golfers don't want someone to get an advantage by having a drone fly out there and drop a ball, but then you have the fun group that really want to see how close they can get. So those are a few things. I know, Kara, you've seen more than 1,000 golf tournaments in the last few years. I'm sure there's some things you can add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit, all of kind of the trifecta there. But one thing is get your sponsors involved, right? So I think especially with golf tournaments and things like that, getting creative with sponsorships is huge. I know that there was an example that I saw and I just thought it was the coolest was, everybody kind of has, flag sponsors or hole sponsors, but having each of them participate and creating a theme on the hole. So it makes it a little bit more of an experience for those golfers, right? So think of a bagpipe player on the 9th hole and you're in Ireland. So, getting kind of creative and having that part of the sponsorship packet of, kind of as one of the things that they would be helpful to do. We've seen that really make it more of an experience and set yourself apart from the run-of-the-mill golf tournaments. Having it as a theme, 1970s golf, right? So everybody's wearing, kind of the throwback golf attire and voting on the best outfits. So again, thinking of inexpensive ways to kind of set your golf tournament and your golf event separate from others that are maybe competing a little bit really will set you apart.
I love the 70s theme. I don't know if I'd be able to win that one, but I'd certainly try to compete. One thing I'd add, though, is also think about incorporating the family and, maybe having, while the tournament's going on, kids classes that the golf pro for the course maybe wants to run a kids course and practicing their swings and putting and things like that. Have a putting tournament for the kids, things that they can do where the family's involved by, saying it's $20 to have your kids sign up. Yeah, maybe that's not a huge revenue driver. If 50 people sign up, that gets you a little bit, but it also engages them more and makes them remember, hey, you gave this experience to my kid, my family, and incorporated more than just myself, and it didn't feel like just an ask. So that's one way to really kind of diversify how you're involving people in golf, because like we know, there is a specific demographic that typically skews towards golf tournaments.
Absolutely. And as we kind of talk about another sort of do-it-yourself option, just to clarify, in what we've seen with customers is that if people are choosing their own course or their own kind of within a certain time frame, or you say golf at one of these 5, because they're likely paying their own fees and their own cart fees and their own caddy, that the registration fee for your golf tournament would be lower, but your expenses are virtually none, right? So that is one way that we've seen people kind of re-engage with others. And I will say the ones that we've seen have raised more than I think we ever thought they would. And it's some have used it as kind of a nice kind of bridge between, virtual event and a virtual event or whatever, because golf is a really safe thing for people to do. But like I mentioned, there's kind of other choose your own adventure or kind of do it within a time frame sort of campaigns that people can do. And I know, Brandon, you wanted to talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, so we called this moving for a cause, mostly because it doesn't have to always be a run or doesn't have to be a walk. I participated as a champion for a move-a-thon just be active was the message that they gave to all their champions and all their participants. So champions, when I say champions, that is how we refer to peer-to-peer type campaigns. And oftentimes your walk, your run has a champion or a peer-to-peer element to it. And we highly recommend that. People more so than ever want to be active, want to be getting outdoors and do things in a safe way. We can't have the typical, you picture the marathon of people running all next to each other right now. That's not being done as often, but there are ways to get people active. And you can see the turkey trot campaign that we're sharing here. They did a few things. One, here were the guidelines. You have this time frame to participate, and they had set up a Twitter engagement and Facebook engagement, and they used a really cool tool to kind of show all the different engagements of people who were saying, I ran, I believe this was 5K. I ran the 5K on this date, and here was my group, and sharing pictures and tying it back again to the turkey trot and supporting this memorial campaign that they've been running. So people weren't running 1,000 on top of each other, but they're still doing it in groups. They're still getting active. And this was in November. So even then, people were getting out there and participating. What's great about this, and with any peer-to-peer campaign, it allows you to arm your community and your supporters to bring their family, their friends, and their network to your organization to share the story. And it's so important to have social media engagement, consistent engagement among your champions, and communicate with them as it's leading up to it. If someone hasn't yet posted about their run and their outing, or if they haven't quite shared as many posts as others, and there's an opportunity to maybe engage them, give them some ammunition to do that, but embrace the opportunity to have others out there promoting your mission, your cause. And this is also really great for those that are schools and organizations that have alumnus that are out there in different communities that aren't local, that have never really been able to participate in your run, in your walk, in your gala. This is a great way to engage them. It doesn't have to be local. And that's what's cool about this, is we're no longer talking about do stuff outdoors that's right next door. It's do stuff outdoors in the aspect of that there's a lot out there that you can do. So I think there's a lot to this. I could answer questions for hours, I feel like, because one, I participated, but also that competition element is again rampant in fundraising, and it's really great with these different move-a-thons and different things like that. So hopefully all the organizations here are going to go do that, and certainly let me know if I can sign up, because we want to get outdoors. But
For sure. And Brandon, I think, sorry to interrupt, but I do think that you brought up a good point about you're not bound by a certain time, you're not bound by a certain area. And as you can see on this homepage, they still had finishers medals that they sent out. They still celebrated winners if that's important to people. They definitely had teams with that peer-to-peer element. And everyone can kind of feel included, which was really nice. And this particular 5K, I think, outperformed, which was really, really great to see too. And it's so important to understand. You kind of brought up a good point that it's easy to stand up. So something like this, if you were to be, have thousands of people running with you or whatever, that involves a heavy staff lift. You might have to get chip timers. I mean, all of this logistics that can be really hard. But if you do something like this is something a junior board could take on, or a committee, or something your staff could stand up relatively quickly. And with GiveSmart, you have unlimited access to, you can do as many as fundraisers as you want. So it's not, doesn't cost you anymore. I mean, I think all those things are just really, really nice. And I know, Kara, I'm eager to hear about kind of summer festivals, because that feels like something that can happen this year, which is just really, really, really exciting. And for some organizations, it happened last year.
Absolutely. And, this is near and dear to my heart, because I think probably one of the saddest things that came out of the pandemic was not being able to go to these summer festivals. And especially, Kathy, us Midwesterners look forward to every year. And so kind of bringing that back and bringing it in a way that you can either make it in a virtual aspect or bring it outdoors again and make your organization a little bit of money, whether that is, it's an art fair, right? And you have local artists participating, whether it's a food truck tasting, right? And you have the local food trucks. This is a really awesome way to get your community involved, right? And support your fellow community members, right? And their businesses. And so, whether it's a garden walk, I know in Chicago, where I'm from, downtown, there's some beautiful gardens and homes that they kind of open up so you can kind of walk through their garden area. And don't be shy on asking people to donate this is a perfect way to use the vote functionality, which we utilize on the GiveSmart platform, of voting for your favorite wine, your favorite food truck, your favorite garden, whatever that would be. I know one of our organizations is hosting a local garden party, and they're actually bringing a mobile tap room. So a few people get to actually go inside. It's like kind of a bar, but it's a bar on wheels. Social distancing for sure. It's not, a cram bar. And so I just thought that was really cool, of really trying to support local community members and their businesses as well, while, having the opportunity to support your own causes.
For sure. And, this example obviously was virtual. And you might be thinking, Kathy, we talked about how everyone wants to be in person. But we just thought that this was such a prime example of all of these things that you had done virtually, because you all worked hard over the past year to make things work so that your mission could be sustained. All of that work didn't have to be for nothing. So if you had a lot of success with a virtual yoga class, could you do that in an outdoor space? If you to Kara's point, maybe it was a virtual tour of a garden last year. Well, this year people can walk through and you can have a bar on wheels to boot. So, it's important to have that online platform that can definitely support your ticketing, support that voting thing, that voting idea. It's worked really well. And we've seen a lot of people raise a lot of money that way. And it's just really, 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 really valuable to make sure that you can stand everything up to make your mission, have success. So as
I just add one thing there. Notice this is a week-long series of virtual events, and you can do a week-long series just like any other festival. And the reason we look at doing an extended type event like that is also the opportunity to extend the opportunity for someone to give that maybe hasn't clicked on the first thing, but there's other elements within the week or the promotions that you're doing that do hook them. So sometimes having that mixture and being able to diversify what you're doing there. Again, it's about capturing new donors as well as bringing current donors back into the fold and getting them engaged. New donors may get really hooked on your yoga classes, and that's what does it for them. But maybe they aren't, and then you have something 3 days later that's around wine tastings. It's an opportunity to really engage new people and also get a sense for what people are interested in. So you can do a one-off yoga class. You have this, especially if you're using the GiveSmart platform, you have this opportunity to go, stand up something that did really well within a bigger program.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And as we transition, those were the examples that we have seen be used most frequently in GiveSmart. So when organizations are doing outdoor fundraisers to date, they've likely been one of those three options. But as we look ahead, and as we were brainstorming, I have to laugh because there are organizations that are having success with, frankly, very easy to stand up fundraisers, and shockingly few are doing them. When we were talking about examples, I was like, there have to be more than just one or two. And I was wrong. So that's why we wanted to share what we're going to be talking about in just a minute. That there are, again, easy to stand up things that you could do now. And they're less likely to be happening. But they definitely, to me, seem the most manageable. So I know, Kara, you were going to kick us off. You just talked about being kind of outside and doing festivals and fun in the summer, which is finally here. And now you're going to talk a little bit about games.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, kind of going into that same, the fun part, right? The easy part, not making it too complicated. I think that, sometimes, and not saying that golfing is complicated, but, there's courses and there's venues and things like that, that you kind of have to kind of muddle through. And I think when you kind of simplify it and think through, something as easy as backyard games, right? So a bags tournament, perfect example that we have here on the screen of one of our organizations that kind of did a cornhole tournament or a bags tournament. And I think they actually had their dogs there, and it was a whole outdoor fun family kind of event. So really thinking about the accessibility as well, right? Not everybody can play golf or knows how to play golf. Also thinking at price point, right? So having the diversifying kind of your offerings throughout your kind of donor base, I think really helps to give your donors different options of how they can participate, and also keeps them involved, right? So having the ability to do something, small, like a bags tournament. I think I saw somebody had mentioned about mini golf, and having that instead of doing a whole golf tournament. Exactly kind of the things that we're thinking of, thinking outside of the box on, it could be anything from, again, I think Brandon had mentioned this, it's a Midwestern game, but ladder ball, right? So thinking of maybe more competition, but not so competition like a golf tournament. So really going back to your roots a little bit, and thinking through some of the games and the various ways that you can actually monetize those games to your benefit.
For sure. And again, people are putting kind of the rules point blank on their homepage so that it's very clear. People understand. People who are competitive like know what's at stake. And also most of the cornhole examples, or most of the bags examples I found, had spectator tickets, especially now that there are still some limits. If you're hosting at like a place that has bags, like in their brewery or whatever, they will have capacity limits still in some places. So making sure that you're, to Kara's point, monetizing on those folks, and again, allowing people to come together. If I'm not a super competitive person, but my friends are, you can play bags and I'll pay $20 to watch you and support a good cause for sure. And I know, Brandon, we did see a few of these last year, but less than I would have thought. But we have a few organizations that had a lot of success with scavenger hunts.
Yeah, and what's fun is kind of the scavenger hunt idea is almost like one version of your outdoor Olympics or field day, or getting a bunch of people together, do a bunch of things without making them stand on top of each other almost. So if you remember the field day from back when you were younger, it's all your different activities that kids would participate in and compete. The selfie scavenger hunt is one example here, but really the scavenger hunt idea ties you back to getting people to compete without having to do something that is overly complex, more fun, and getting the group together. So video scavenger hunts, or selfie scavenger hunts, or just a photo scavenger hunt are fun ways to get people out in your community. You can do it around sponsors. You can have it around the local community stores and things like that, and really a nice, easy thing to put together, because you have one small expense of the winner gets something, winning team gets something, and then everything else is just promoting it and getting people to participate. You can also make it over a longer period of time. But what's nice is now that we can do things outdoor, you can have a little bit more creative license on how you build it around your community and what fits with your organization. And think about it as this: it's an opportunity to use your social media to not just promote your mission, but also tie your mission back to something really fun, really unique, and not everyone is doing. So you're hearing it here. There's not 50,000 people here all hearing the same thing. This is something that is working, and it is really something that's going to support your overall mission. It's not going to hit your annual fundraising goal just on its own. It's something to add on top of it. And really, if you incorporate something like peer-to-peer fundraising, you have people push the social media elements, and you have a dedicated hashtag and things like that, you are going to see some success and some engagement, and you may get some new folks who participate because their friend has a team and things like that.
Well, and Brayton, have we seen people do peer-to-peer with scavenger hunts? Like they have fundraising teams, and like top fundraisers are incentivized in some way?
Yeah, so usually what we'll see is really any of these competitions, you can incorporate a peer-to-peer. And the reason that is because any team can be its own fundraising page in essence, and they can have their own fundraisers. So instead of saying, here's a selfie scavenger hunt, everyone sign up and you get one entry and that's it. Instead, it's get your team together, see how much you can raise and participate in this, and get people to support you as you're out getting the different pieces of the scavenger hunt. So as you get your pet helping you bid, a video of or a selfie of your pet helping you bid, like on this example here, you would have, people in the area being like, well, what are you guys doing? That's an opportunity for them to fundraise as well. And here's our text this to fundraise, and then you can support that cause. So it's really a great way to engage them and have that leaderboard as you're going.
Well, for sure. And people are they're incentivized to do what they're rewarded for. So I've seen a few customers, not only if you complete all of the tasks in a certain time frame are you entered for a chance to win, but if you're a top fundraising team, you get acknowledged as well, because ultimately that's what you want people to do. And I know with this example and with other ones that we've seen, if they're all using kind of the same hashtag and they're sharing, on Facebook or Instagram or whatever they may be, and either directing people back to your page or again using that hashtag, that they're kind of advertising for you and they're having fun. So it's sort of a win-win-win. And again, it's a light lift. And as a former fundraiser myself, anything that was a light lift and got people excited and engaged was a win in my book. So I know we're going to talk a little bit too, Brandon. We've seen a few people do drive-in movies.
Yeah, it's kind of thrown it back to the old school, right? Drive-in movies. And we're thinking of this as, it's not just go sit at a drive-in theater together and watch a movie from your car, but there's also some unique exclusivity. There's some really great add-ons, some ways to really put together a nice event. We actually had someone chat in that they actually saw double the amount that they raised at their drive-in movie event that they would have done at their gala historically. So these are really becoming prominent and wonderful events, because people, one, feel the nostalgia of it, and two, they really enjoy getting together to do something of this aspect with the family, but still get to see friends and kind of enjoy being outdoors. So a couple of the things to think about when you do a drive-in. Now we're talking drive-in right now, but it could also be a walk-in or a movie at the park or something to that aspect. You can have some exclusivity, things like VIP parking spots. You can have early entry passes where they can get in early and get the spot they want. Also, maybe they get a bonus movie, so they want to stay later and watch a second movie, or they get access to the next showing. Something of that aspect is really kind of a fun way. And then also you can see here the spooky snack pack. That just sounds fun to me in general, but you get some popcorn and some candy, and you really get to enjoy the movie with a little bit of a snack as part of it. So it's a nice perk, low cost, easy to accomplish. You can have simple pickup on the way in. And what's nice about a drive-in event or any of these events really is, if you're using software to manage the ticketing or the registration for it, they can check themselves in. So they're able to say, I'm here, I'm ready to participate, what's going on type thing. And then you can start text messaging them, hey, the auction is actually available as well. Are you interested in these different kinds of movie themed items and things like that? You can really have a fun theme behind it. And those are great add-ons to this. If you're thinking about fundraising, yeah, it's snacks, it's having maybe a food truck and having some food options. Sell your merchandise if you have it. If you have some left over from last year that you didn't get to sell, bring your merchandise. It's a great place to sell it, especially because you'll have your logo on it, and just remind people that the mission behind the event is to support your organization. But some of the add-ons are also thinking about the fundraisers that you can run within. So as the movie is going on, sending a text message out of, hey, don't forget to support, or at the end, be sure to stay for 5 minutes to watch our CEO quickly to address the audience. Those kinds of things where it's an easy way to communicate. And then Carlos is also think about picnic style or at your local stadium using the jumbotron if you're able to. Obviously, maybe not the sports stadium if that's too expensive, but maybe look at the local high school football stadium or something like that, and definitely look at options to have more of like a party in the park opportunity where they can walk up rather than drive up, because it's certainly something where people are interested in maybe grabbing a picnic blanket and sitting down and enjoying a movie together.
For sure. And I think too, I know, Kara, you're going to kind of talk a little bit about kind of that concert idea, but she had mentioned that she had gone to like watching Jaws, like sitting in like a floaty in a pool or an inner tube in a pool, and like how fun that would be. I mean, I think As
Oh yeah.
great as virtual is, and as much as there were really fun ways to be creative, I mean, now I just feel like creativity is gonna explode in such a great way, and there's a lot of fun things you can do.
Kara, was there a shark in the pool?
No, it was actually in a lake. So I don't know if anybody on this webinar is familiar. In Austin, they do this kind of feature, and this is kind of pre-COVID. But I thought that this is what a great idea too, where you can kind of, basically social distance in a lake, and they screen Jaws. So everybody was in their floaty. It was nighttime. Talk about when you were talking about the spooky snacks. It reminded me of how spooky that was. So thinking of things like that, again, your local pool and having the ability to maybe to do in a smaller setting. It's also family friendly too. Maybe not Jaws, but another feature film in a pool. I think is always fun.
We did have someone just chat in that I have to share. They do concerts in the park, and they pass a paper mache pig around, which I think is kind of fun. So a theme is definitely a big piece of this. It's right. Think about the movie that you're showing. Maybe it's nostalgic, maybe it's new, and have something that kind of engages the crowd.
For sure, and Brandon, you kind of set us up really well for kind of talking about concerts, and I know, Kara, there's a few different ways that people make it happen with an online platform like GiveSmart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, with this one is just, thinking, you can kind of take your gala and kind of put it outside. And I know that that's, for some, that's kind of, a, not maybe something new, but I think there's so many different elements that you can have in an outdoor space like that, whether it be a VIP, maybe it's a hybrid event. So, an outdoor amphitheater, if you will, right? So maybe your VIPs, smaller group get to see, the band, and everybody else, is kind of further back where they can maybe see it, or maybe there's screens outside to really make people feel engaged, right? And so I think it's all about how you rethink kind of your everyday gala that maybe you would have at an indoor, facility, and bring that outside. There are tons of spaces, whether that's parks, donors' homes that maybe have a lot of land that would allow you to do something special on that. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I know here in Chicago, we have the Arlington racetrack that is not being used anymore. And so I think that there's a lot of places to get creative with your outdoor events.
Oh boy. Absolutely. And I think like someone had chatted in that they were surprised, and I know Kara and Brandon, you can speak to this probably more so than I can, but there are so many examples of folks who tried something new, got creative, or thought, well, we're going to give it a try because we have to keep going, and they end up hitting their goal, or they end up raising more, or the person who chatted in today raised double. I mean, that's incredible. An incredible testament to, if you put forth a little bit of take a little bit of risk and put forth a little bit of effort, that you can have a lot of return. And this example hasn't even started yet that we're seeing on the screen, and they've already raised quite a bit of money. And I think that that's a testament that people are, again, ready and excited and willing to give. And we're going to kind of close it out. Oh, sorry, Brandon, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add, like, the big thing I think we're getting across is you have to try. If you try a few things and one of them works, it's a great story to tell. But if you don't try anything, you're certainly not going to see the success. So definitely think about trying some of these things. Some of them are obviously a lot easier to pull together, and some of them maybe take a little bit more work and are great for early fall and things like that. But it's the key thing is now is a great time to seize the opportunity of being able to be outdoors.
Absolutely. And I know, Carrie, you're going to kind of wrap us up with a picnic, which can fulfill not only a fundraiser but like a recognition event, or kind of a meet the VIP event sort of idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, kind of, to Brandon's point too, the trying the different things. I think, when we're talking to our nonprofit partners and we're exploring the different things that they're doing and how they're getting creative, a lot of this is for stewardship, right? Like, kind of having the ability, whether it's socially distanced or not, kind of returning to kind of that in-person, quote unquote, to have that one-on-one time with your donors. And so, I know the example here on the screen is kind of the picnic time, right? So whether it's, a $5 donation and you can come and you'll have a space, kind of the circled socially distant space in a park. And, at the very least, you bring your own, picnic basket and just are able to maybe connect with board members or, the young professionals board or doing something like that, I think is so important, and kind of having that mission focus, kind of with these kind of smaller, maybe not necessarily, large money makers, but really getting back to kind of that donor, one-on-one and that stewardship.
For sure. And, we've heard, I think, a lot from customers who are like, I need to I need to see some people face to face again. And this is a great example of doing a volunteer recognition event. We've seen more of those happening in the GiveSmart platform than ever. Doing something that can bring some of those top level donors together to have a mission centered program. It can be short, it can be easy. People can bring their own food, own drink and the like, and that you can really kind of kick off what will be the future of your organization. Because looking back, it's going to have to be different. We're all going to be different people than we were, a year and a half ago. And so a lot of groups are kind of finding that they need to have sort of a kickoff to fundraising or a kickoff to what the future holds. And this is a prime, easy to stand up way to do so. So thank you very much. I guess Brandon and Kara, we're going to go through some questions in a minute, and maybe wrap up some things that we weren't able to touch on. But
one thing.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Just looking at that picture, I'm thinking about, as we think of the room versus being outdoors, how do we differentiate that? And one of the things that golf tournaments have done really well over time is really brand an event and put the name there. It's definitely worth it to put your logo there. Being outdoors, you might have passersby who may just be inclined to participate. It's kind of that art fair theory, right? Where if they have enough signage, people will just come through and end up buying something. So think about that as you're doing an outdoor event, that maybe it's not just about the people you're promoting to, but it's also the people in the community that are just out enjoying a nice day. So the picnic time kind of makes you think about that, right? There's no logo here anywhere, but what if they had signage? What if they had, people going around handing out information, things like that are available. And that's a great way to kind of to bring your mission back into it, in the core of what we all know works, of just reminding people through message and signage.
Absolutely. And that, speaks to the sponsor piece that Kara had talked about. There are ways to get your sponsors recognition, outside of the audience that you're initially kind of thinking about. But before we get to questions, which please, if you have them, now is your time to ask. Brandon had mentioned at the beginning that we are doing a blueprint series. So they're weekly panel discussions. It is all nonprofit staff who are sharing their best practices, their ideas kind of about all of these subjects. So we have them coming up on a few upcoming Thursdays, and even one Tuesday that sneaks in there, talking about auctions, ticketing, data, and all of the above. And we're doing these through the middle of June. So by all means, I know we've been sharing quite a bit in the chat today, like our golf tournament fundraiser guide. We're going to send all of this via email too, but if you got a chance, by all means, take a look, and we should be sharing the sign up link for this now. And then we will have a survey at the end of today's webinar. So please take it, because believe it or not, we do take a look at what you have to say and try to kind of direct our content, or make sure that we're giving our dear listeners what they're kind of hoping to gain. So with that, let's take a look at some questions. And this one, I probably, Brandon, would be best for you. If you're asking people to send in pictures for an entire contest, do you set it up donate to vote on the auction page, or is there another place that you do this kind of on a campaign? Can you do an auction and that at the same time, I guess?
You can absolutely, yeah, you can definitely do an auction alongside that. And I would actually recommend having multiple things. So what's nice about the platform is you have the ability to have items that are basically vote items, where it's $1 or $5 per vote, and you can group those together. So you can, when you let people know, hey, here are the vote for your favorite section, you can use that category to say, here are the different options within the platform. So I would recommend doing those as vote items. I defer to Kara if she disagreed, but I just through the computer, I'm getting the sense she's nodding her head yes. But I think that's what I would recommend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think vote is the best way to do it. And the cool thing too with the GiveSmart platform, and if you've utilized it before, is that you could actually take pictures too at the event, right? Just take them with your phone, upload it directly there, so you can ask people to send their pictures in ahead of time if they wanted to, or you could do it right there for maybe those that didn't do it that still want to enter the contest. So it is an easier way to get those pictures up and add an item really quickly. You can kind of do that on the spot.
For sure. And we did have people ask a little bit about kind of that contactless check-in or self-check-in, and some questions about text messages. All I will say, and Brandon and Carrie, you can feel free to add more detail, but there is going to be some exciting upgrades coming in the not so distant future to our GiveSmart customers and users. So be on the lookout for newsletters and kind of communication from your customer support folks, because there are things going to make things even easier in the near future if you're a GiveSmart user. So stay tuned to that. And with that, I know Carrie, you said you would cut out if there's anything that you or Brandon wanted to add. I think that's all I'm seeing for questions right now. Anything to add, or we're all wrapping up?
No, I think we covered a lot, and hopefully there's some good ideas in there. And certainly message us if we didn't get to a question or if we might have missed it. But I think there's a lot that people can do here, and I'm excited to see what the next campaigns are.
For sure. And I will say, Brandon, you can bring up an excellent point. There's a lot that we shared today. No, none of the three of us assume that everybody can do everything and it's going to be the easiest thing for everyone to make all of this happen. Small organization, large organization, doesn't really matter. The point is that hopefully there's one or two things that you learned today, one or two things that you feel like could really help move the needle, one or two things that could really help you accomplish the goals that you as an organization have. And we're excited to see where you go. So with that, thank you so much for listening. And if we didn't get a chance to connect with you, someone from the team will connect with you later. With that, Kara and Brandon, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me today.
And thank you, listeners, and have a great rest of your day.